Welcome to episode 100 of the Heavy Matters podcast, live from Arctangent 2024. You can see at the back there, that's blue skies. It's clear. But, mate, this is our third time we've done a face-to-face.
Only three.
Only three.
Out of 100.
One at my house, one at yours, and then this one. So to celebrate, we've got friends here, Marty, Matt, JJ, Ollie's having a shower, and Johnny. But guys, cheers to 100 episodes, mate. Who'd have thought it?
Chin chin.
Woo!
Yeah.
Thanks. Who'd have thought it? 100, mate.
Yeah, it's nice to get here finally. We've done well over 100 shows, but we've said we wanted to keep this as a face-to-face pod.
Yeah.
And,
So thanks to all of you people who are sat in here who listen and watch us. Appreciate it.
Sorry,
Got very little choice in the matter.
Sorry, what's this for?
So, Benny, we started this pod in 2020 during COVID. Just two of us messing around, and it's grown to something quite big in terms of what we've been doing, albums, interviewing bands. So let's start with what has been your highlight of the pod?
there's so many highlights to speak of. But we've had the chance to interview some bands that I just would never have thought would get a chance to interview. Bands that we both really like. For me, bands like Tesseract. For you,
Watain, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, we've had so many opportunities, going to gigs, going to festivals. So it's just been fantastic.
It has, yeah.
It has been beyond our expectations.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I suppose we should give a shout out to all the publicists out there as well who send us all the albums to review and get us on guest lists and get the interviews set up. So, yeah, what's been your favourite interview, do you think, to put you on the spot?
It's tricky. I mean, even the very first ones we did were just quite a thrill, really.
Yeah.
Like, obviously we've done a few now, but yeah, even just those very first ones are really
like
cool.
Boss Keloid and
yeah. They're really cool. So yeah, what about you?
I mean, Watain was beyond. I remember I was at home when we got the promo, and I emailed Claire Harris after I had a few glasses of wine, and I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to take a punt here. Is there any chance we can interview? And then I think the next day you text me and said, there's something in our mailbox you might want to look at. And it was, yes, when can you do it? And like, I was at work, so excited. And then sitting down, waiting for Eric to join.
In the green room.
In the green room.
In the Zoom green room.
And just thinking like, what is this? And he was just like, they always say don't meet your heroes, but he's like one of the nicest guys ever. And like we had good chats and like just to interview like one of my favourite bands. And the other thing as well is the, you know, going to festivals, and like we've done Arctangent 2 years now where we've interviewed bands. This year we're taking a break.
Yeah.
We went hard last night. Look, surprisingly fresh, to be honest.
Yeah, you've escaped a hangover that it was in the mail.
Yeah, this carve has certainly helped.
Helped or
hindered, maybe. It will hinder later on. But like, even things of we say about like me meeting people on planes or bands, like just getting to meet a Bath on a flight or Bicurious, and actually shout out to Bicurious who played my house 2 Sundays ago. And we saw them yesterday, and they were, although I only saw 3 bands yesterday, they were my band of the day for sure.
Yeah, I mean, tell us a bit about that. Sounded quite crazy.
Yeah, so basically, I turned 40 not long ago. I know it's hard to believe. I look about 21, but my wife said, "Oh, what do you want for your birthday?" And do you know when you get to our age, it's like, not to sound arrogant, but if you want something, you just buy it. Do you know what I mean?
What do you get the man who's got everything?
Exactly, yeah. So I saw Bicurious were doing a fundraiser for their second album, and one of them was to get the band to play at your house. And so I said to my wife, that's the perfect present. Got it. Alex, their manager, got in contact, and then had them play in my kitchen with my mum there on drums, Denise hitting the skins. But no, it was great. And
Loud.
very loud, as you
Yes.
can imagine.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
How are the kitchen acoustics?
Super, yeah.
Super.
It was foundations
superb.
still there as well,
Good.
so that's good, yeah. So yeah, 100 episodes, and we're still going. What do you think the future looks like for Heavy Matters?
Well, look, we've always said this. We both work full-time jobs, kids, and this is just a bit of a passion project for us. It's a hobby, and we don't get paid for it.
No.
There's obviously little side perks like the ones you mentioned, but we just enjoy chatting about music, and that's really how it started. I mean, before even doing the podcast, we would have long, in-detail chats, presenting each other our end-of-year list, that
Yeah.
kind of thing, and that's basically how we do it. And so it kind of takes the pressure off. We don't have to
No.
worry about it, and yeah, we just still enjoy doing it. So long may it continue. While
Yeah.
that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we sort of came back together again, because obviously you moved to Norwich Uni, I was in Cardiff, and then after that we didn't really see each other for 10
10
years
years
maybe, something like
probably.
that. But I remember going back to download and seeing Maiden together, and then I think the next year we went and we did our top 20 albums of all time, sat there with a bacon sandwich when you were still eating meat, and a nice warm Fozzies, and we just sat there and just talked in depth, and then
Yeah, for hours.
for hours, yeah. And I mean, that's what we love doing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it is worth saying, like, in these 100 episodes, I think we, and I would say you in particular, have come a long way in what we've recorded. I really would find it quite an uncomfortable listen to go back to those first few episodes.
Oh my
How
God.
do you feel like you have developed since those very first few episodes? I mean, if you listen to those, you could hear like everything. You could hear some nerves in there, just a bit of uncertainty. How do you think? Like,
It's a great question. It's a really good question, and I mean the first episode, which is locked in the vault somewhere.
yeah,
I mean,
that is not
it
for
was
public consumption.
no, but even like the second episode, there was nerves obviously because never done it before. Like, and look, I think most people say I'm a fairly extroverted person and have no problem speaking, but I don't know, just when I was doing the first couple, it was like trying to get my rhythm, and then I think, you know, I mean 100 episodes, Jesus, like maybe 20 episodes in, I started to get a bit more relaxed and not worry about the pressure so much, because like you said,
It's just
we're
for
our
fun,
own bosses.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah, so I mean, the interviews were a different thing.
Yeah, but I think again, you in particular, you're very natural at it now, and I feel like on any given band or artist, you can quite comfortably go in there and interview them, even if like it's not a band you've got a huge relationship with,
Yeah.
or like deep back catalogue or whatever. I feel you can carry that interview very well now.
Yeah, and again, it was just as we developed, like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, the first interview with, it was Bosky Lloyd, or was it? Oh, I'm trying to think who it was.
The Manchester band.
Oh, the Hyena Kill.
Hyena Kill.
Which Lisa
sorry,
Coverdale said, yeah.
That was
Just-
that was. Well, I was trying to remember the name. The Hyena Kill was one of my favourite interviews, purely for that just little buzz of excitement.
Yeah.
And the first one we've done, and I think I remember.
We-
Like, I would stand by that interview, and that, like, I think it was.
Well, we didn't mess it up.
We did mess it up, but I think more than that, like it was an interesting chat, and we
Yeah.
talked about all sorts
Yeah.
during that, and it was really good.
Yeah, and I think, like, when you're speaking to people like the Hyena Kill, they're very open, and we've been fortunate enough that certainly all of the interviews I've done, no one's been very closed. You know, they're very open, and
Have you found any that have been a challenge? I mean, you probably may not want to name names there specifically.
yeah, there's been a couple, and I'm not going to name names, but where they're very shy. Not necessarily like one-word answers, but they're very short and, like, you know, them trying to come up with another question to follow up with. But like you said, and this may sound arrogant, but I'm fairly used to getting through these situations.
I mean, and it's fair to say, for these bands, like, they're giving up a lot of their own time, essentially, to talk to us, who, like, we've grown our podcast considerably since we started, obviously, but still, you know, it's not like they're talking to Metal Hammer or whatever else. So they're giving us their time, we're giving them our time, and we kind of want to just make the most of that, don't you?
And I think the other thing, like, I love about this doing the podcast, is, okay, we're not the size of Metal Hammer, but, you know, if we can put some people onto a new band, like a smaller or underground band, if you say, you know, that's, you know, if someone says, oh, you put me onto this band, that just makes it all worthwhile.
I've got a question on that. We had no today's show is worth saying. We're not reviewing any albums.
No.
We're not reviewing Art Tangent specifically, although we'll do a separate show on that. And we've not prepped any kind of agenda. But I've got a question. Like, over these 100 episodes, we have developed we've changed our format. But I think more subconsciously than that, we have changed the level of profile bands that we choose to cover. Tell us why we moved in that direction. It kind of feeds into what you basically just said.
Yeah, I mean, look, the likes of Metallica, Slipknot, Maiden, they don't need any profile from us. Like, they will release an album and they will sell millions. People go to the show. That's said and done.
And it is worth saying that we did do that initially.
We did
cover those bands,
and look,
but we have moved away from that.
Now, to be fair, if like Maiden dropped a new album, we probably would because of our love for it. But
and at the end of the day, we love those bands and we like talking about those bands, and so that's again going back to the start. That's why we've done this, isn't it? But I do think we have moved in direction towards covering smaller bands that may not get the props they deserve, may not get those centerfolds in Metal Hammer. So that has been, I think, a conscious and unconscious move from us, and I think it's kind of.
Like I said, my original point is that's what I love. If you can get someone onto a band, and like, you know, if someone, for example, a band emailed me the other day from Norway, Skeffold I think they're called, and just said, oh, check out our band, and I did, and it was fairly proggy, and I passed it on to a friend of the show, Owen McKenna, and he bought a record and a t-shirt of them. And I sent them a mail back saying, look, the shirt's arrived, and they were just like, that's incredible, like, thanks so much. So little things like that, they go a long way.
Yeah, and we do try, and I think we are always open to approaches, like, as I say, we're doing this kind of in our spare time, and so we're not full-time looking through promos and everything else, but I think we're always happy to like have an open mind in these things.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a good point as well. We do get lots of promos. I mean, per day, I don't know how many we get, and we try and get through all of them. But there might be. I mean, I'm not just gonna. I will single out a label, but if we get something from Pelagic Records, I mean, you're repping all of it. You know, it's going to be interesting. I can't remember the last time I was checked out a Pelagic band and didn't like it. But look, the other people, like people do send stuff from their bands, and they say, you know, in chance for review. And look, like Vinny said, we only have a certain amount of time, so it's not that we're not looking at it, but we just don't have the time to do it. But on that point, I will just shout out to Tony and Fletch.
Yeah, we needed to come on. Definitely.
I just reached out to Tony and Fletch just on Twitter one day and said, look, do you fancy doing some writing? And they both jumped on board, and the lads are, like, they're really nice people, which helps massively. Like, there's great banter in the group chat.
Yeah, we're friends now. They're not, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I would say they're both fantastic. They're both really passionate about music, and again, they are doing this just for the love of it. They don't get paid, we don't get paid, and they are just doing it for the love of it. But it's been so great on the very few times we have met up. It's been fantastic, and I've said it before, but they are both just great writers, and
Yeah.
I would love it if we could use Heavy Matters as just even a small platform to boost guys like that, and you know, if
100%.
they moved on to something bigger and better, I would love.
Oh, yeah,
I would
absolutely.
love that. So
And-
I've said that to them.
Yeah, and look, just to reiterate again, they don't get paid for this. We are so grateful that they give up their time. And the other thing as well is, within the group of the four of us, we have a very diverse taste of music. So like
Yeah.
Fletcher's Mr. Death Metal, like you're very pelagic. Tony is quite open to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And you know, they might just pick up a random promo and go, I like this. And to be fair to them as well, you know, when they do their reviews, I don't know about you, but I read them.
Yeah,
and I've found
exactly.
some bands
Yeah,
off the
yeah.
back of it and been
Absolutely,
like, wow,
yeah,
how did I
yeah.
not listen to this? So, yeah, like just eternally grateful for the guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And like you said, I would not begrudge them if they went on to bigger and better things, because they totally deserve it.
Yeah, yeah. And while we're on the subject, we should thank the other people who are involved in
Yes.
the projects. I mean, Johnny, who is here today, one of my very oldest and best friends, has done the music, which you hear at the start, and that has served us well through all of.
The anxiety wrenching music.
Yes, and Mike Loveless, who has done all the graphics
Yeah.
that you see, and do you know, those little things when we're starting off, we didn't really know what we were doing,
Yeah.
but those just little gestures meant a lot, and it's something that's just been an ever-present during the show.
Absolutely.
There is, beyond that, kind of a wider cast that, do you know, like both of our wives,
Yeah.
our families,
We-
do you know, we are
We
aware
should
that-
shout out to the wives, as
Yeah.
you mentioned it, that you know, they're both very generous with our time.
Yes,
You know, like
exactly.
we will do maybe one show a week, depending, but you know, it's like an hour, and then we'll have a chat after. So it could be like an hour and a half. So, and they're minding the kids while we're doing
that's
this.
an evening knocked out of your week, do you know?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah,
So
they have been
grateful
great.
for them, and you know, as well for like, you know, we've been to Oslo this year, and we're now at Art Tangent, so that's 4 days. We've been,
Yeah.
3 at Tons of Rock, but yeah, like they're very good, you know, and we are grateful for that,
We
for all
are.
the work
Thank
they
you.
do. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, the other thing as well is just like the little friendships you make.
Yeah, tell us about that. Like, tell us firstly on the band side of a band that maybe you've struck up through interviewing them or meeting them, struck up a bit of a rapport with, and what about also, I think it's maybe something I didn't really appreciate before we did this, but like the people behind the scenes, like the PRs
Yeah.
and the publicists, the people who work for the labels. Tell us
I mean,
your experience with that. And
well, I'll start with the bands first, as you mentioned it. Like I mentioned at the start, By Curious, you know, messaging them back and forwards, you know, really nice guys. Gavin lives in Dublin. The other one, I mean, the probably the funniest, or not funniest, but is Orr from Australia.
yeah, that was a nice little relationship.
Like that came from viral propaganda, I think, and just the album artwork struck me straight away, and I was like, look, let's have an interview, and I spoke to Mark, the drummer, and Matt, the guitarist, and I then flew to, sorry, that's just Johnny having pouring a pint, and then I went to Australia and met Mark, and then last time I went, I flew to Sydney, and they put on a show. He put on a show specifically for when I was there, and let me stay at his apartment. He showed me round. We went record shopping, and you know, that's a really nice friendship. I met his parents. Like we went out for dinner with them. Yeah, so that was nice. And then through that, I met Matt Woods, Death Cult from Australia, Yano Mamo, who I saw as well. Jason's a nice guy. So yeah, like things like that, and that's what I mean. Like, you know, like bands in Australia. Like if you're based in Europe, you know the metal scene's huge. There's bands all over, and then you go to America, where, in all fairness, Europe has taken over America.
I think
at
so.
the moment,
Yeah.
music-wise. But there's so much more music, like in Australia, like, and that's what I mean. You know, if I can just put on like, so Lloyd, for example, another friend of the show, bought the All record, and like, you know, $30 odd, but that's $30 for a band, and their record is now in England.
Yeah.
Do you know? And that's a nice thing. What about you?
Well, I think, as I say, what has struck me is not necessarily the bands, but the people behind the bands, like PR and the publicists, the labels, and meeting people like Lisa Coverdale. Well, I'm not sure I've actually met her, but you know, the relationships online that you strike up, people like Joe Nan, and just meeting these people who are absolute lifers in the music scene and live and breathe this stuff. It is quite infectious to be around, for sure.
Yeah. And Lisa Coverdale, shout out. Yeah. She was
from the early days. She is.
I remember. Did I tweet her or something like that? And I was like, oh, she put on Twitter, I'm doing the Boss Colloid. Anyone wants the album, get in touch. So, chance my arm, and I remember hounding her. When's the album coming? And she was like, just relax, Joey. It's coming. And it's finally released. And I think that was definitely one of the first promos we got, I think. Yeah. And just having someone send us an album in advance was weird.
And it was, it was really nice.
Great album as well, to be fair. But yeah, like, they do, and they work so hard. Yeah. Like, you know, they're chasing up people online, you know, did you listen to this, have you listened to that? And look, apologies if we haven't got around to it, but like we said, we're very busy. But yeah, like, we're so grateful for not just the albums, but like, you know, guest lists and interviews and things like that. Like
it's been great opportunities, and that the stark truth of it is, like, I don't want to keep banging on about it, we don't get paid, but these little things just kind of perpetuate what we do. You know, like they keep the momentum, the excitement, the interest, and I hope, like, I mean, part of it is a symbiotic relationship in that we hopefully are giving them content and publicity and whatever else that they can use, and so it's clearly symbiotic, but it does make a difference. I do think.
Definitely, absolutely.
And it's been something we've been very conscious to do over these 100 episodes, as we moved from reviewing albums that had already been released because we weren't getting promos, to moving to trying to be quite strict on reviewing stuff beforehand.
Yes.
And,
I think we've done quite well this year, to be fair. We started off the year very well.
Yeah.
I don't think we've done any album look backs. Sorry. That have already been released. I think we were quite good. Obviously, summer came and we're away and stuff like that, but we've been fairly good in that regard. I can't think of any ones we've retrospectively looked back on this year. Coming on to this year, actually, what's been your thoughts on the releases this year? Any standouts so far?
Yeah, I actually have enjoyed this year quite a lot. I mean, I started the year basically listening exclusively to Pelagic Records, and I found myself a little uninspired, I have to say, and I felt I had to dig around a little bit. But as the year's gone on, I've loved plenty of stuff that's come out, and I think it's like that a lot of years, that it kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. But I think this year will come out in the wash as a super good year.
Well, it's not been released yet, but I'm quietly confident that the new Opeth album is going to be on my end of year list.
I'd be surprised.
There's not been many big releases from big bands, I don't think. The other one I'm waiting for is Satiricon's new album.
Yeah.
Now, that was due to be released in May, but it's obviously been put back for some reason. But they're on Napalm, so I'm really looking forward to it. And if I can get an interview with Satir, that would be, you know, like, I mean,
a life goal.
Is there any bucket list bands you want to interview, perhaps?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, like, as I said earlier, if you told me that we would be interviewing Tesseract, you know, that would, and we've had the pleasure of doing that twice now, so that in itself is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll interview Iron Maiden one day, I'm sure, Metallica, I don't know. I mean, I do, bands I would love to, I find people like Maynard James Keenan, Devin Townsend, those kinds of characters, so interesting. I would love to speak to them. I think that would be going some to get that level, but those would be dreams. I mean, they would be such interesting folk to speak to.
Yeah, I mean, mine would be, I think the only one on the bucket list would be Mikhail from Opeth, I think. On the subject of Opeth, actually, another one of my favourite interviews was with Wilderon, who discovered through the pods, a friend of ours sent it on, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is incredible. And I had the interviewing them. That was a good interview. I don't think there's many, like, Maiden Sure would be good, but I wouldn't say it's a bucket list one.
I was exaggerating.
But no, I know what you mean, yeah. I think, really, unless another sort of black metal band, Nurgle from Behemoth would be a good one. But yeah, like, let's put it this way, if the pod ended today,
yes,
I would be announcement. I'd be content.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like, realistically, what other goals do you see for the podcast? We're gonna keep doing it, of course. We're gonna interview bands. We're gonna do reviews, but I'm content with the.
I know. Yeah.
You know, I don't see any reason to try and push ourselves further when we can't commit to the time.
Exactly.
I think, like, we've got Fletch and Tony who are doing the reviews for us, which, you know, keep us ticking over, and we try and do a show twice a week. Oh, sorry, fortnightly if we can. But yeah, like, it's been, when you look back at it, where we started from, like you said at the start, like, listening to the first episodes, oh god, I wouldn't even dream to listen to them, but like, it's been a great ride.
Yeah, man.
And, like, you know, bit of soppy, but, like, it's rekindled our friendship as well, massively. You know, we met at Downloads, and I think had we not started the pod, we'd still probably be going to festivals together, but I don't think we'd be as close as we are now.
Just through the very fact of recording so frequently, I speak to you more than I speak to most of my family. So,
yeah,
for sure.
But I mean, it's been great. It's been real fun, and we get to hang out with our friends, and just
long may it continue.
Long may it continue. So here's episode 200.
Yeah,
mate.
I finished my.
Jesus,
bubbles.
you were a thirsty boy.
Oh, well, yeah, I went down. Go on, put it there.
Here's to 100 more.
Yeah.
Peace.